I think you're right. I think that they just think, oh, well, we're always going to be able to get away with it.
Yeah, it's one of a number of factors, I suspect. Another being that the pressure is on drivers these days. They have to perform because this is the Formula 3 championship and you've got to do well and then progress.
Giovinazzi certainly laid down some rubber once again, didn't he?
He knows exactly what the score is here. He wants the grip there so he can drive off that at the start of the race proper. The other interest is going to be how Marcus Pommer gets off the line relative to Felix Rosenqvist.
Yes.
Because if Rosenqvist is stuck behind him, then his race may well be a real challenge. Antonio Giovinazzi then is on pole. Marcus Pommer with him at the front. Felix Rosenqvist comes next ahead of Jake Dennis and then Lance Stroll lining up fifth. Sixth is where you find Sergio Sette Camara. Behind him it is George Russell, Alex Albon, Ryan Tweeter, Charles Leclerc. Look lower down, you've got Menezes starting 16th. He's normally a live wire. Gustavo, the American driver, one to watch as well. Max Gunter, the Norris Ring winner, only 13th on the grid. Nabil Jeffrey scored points for the first time yesterday in race 1, but he's 23rd here. And then looking further down, Brandon Maisano, who was in the points in race 1, starting way back, 30th on the grid. So 34 cars we have this weekend. Once more, the team that is missing from Zandvoort is Euro International, still struggling to get drivers committed, and it looks as though that might be a team that we don't see very much more of this year. But on track, as the sun starts to break through, the drivers getting some warmth into the Hankook rubber. This is how the circuit looks. You've got that traditional, the familiar, archetypal Zandvoort shot really of the first hairpin Tarzan, and then the first sector is up between turns 7 and 8 at the top of the lap, a very short middle sector bringing them down to the Audi S. And then the old boss out curve, now effectively two right-handers, the Kumho and Arie Luijendijk corners, parts 1 and part 2 respectively of that sequence, which you're looking at the top of the screen now as the cars go from the Kumho Bocht then to the Arie Luijendijk corner, with all the different tourist attractions around. There's the caravan park, there's the centre parks on the doorstep, lots of hotels nearby, the Zandvoort town, there's the beach, the other side of the Tarzan hairpin. And Zandvoort as a circuit, a real focal point of what is a busy seaside town. And it's good to have the circuit on the up once more, running more race meetings, bringing more people not just to the track but to the area as well. I know there's always going to be a criticism from local residents about the noise of a race circuit, but the number of people that are here this weekend and finding a hotel room nearby is a bit like finding things that fall out of the back of a rocking horse. So it's certainly good for the local economy, isn't it? You know, it's brought a lot of people to the area. There is Giovinazzi up onto pole position. With him at the front of the grid is Marcus Pommer, and you can see how everybody is trying to urge the warmth in the tyres, but flicking the cars left and right. Boccolacci there, one of them, as they head to the grid. Sam McLeod is there. He had a really good first race yesterday, Sam McLeod. Got himself up from 24th on the grid to 12th out of the points, but it was a good run. The last few cars slot into place. The Muka Motorsport engineers are ready. So too at Prema Power Team. Well, that's covered off about half the grid looking at those two teams, hasn't it? Because they are both very busy squads. As ever, Remy Rossin is picked up by the cameras and approves of his look.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
And as soon as Julio Moreno for the T-Sport team is into place at the back of the grid for Russell Ecott's squad, they will be ready to go. The chase vehicle arrives on track, and we'll get a green flag from the marshal. Now that is the indication that the grid is complete. Then it's over to the starter. 5 red lights will go on, and then round 21 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship will be go. And the best start is made by Giovinazzi, but Pommer tries to stay with him on the inside. He gets squeezed, but he keeps on coming, and a great start by Marcus Pommer should give him the race lead on the inside line. It does on the inside for Tarzan. He's got his nose in front of Giovinazzi, who's hung out to try and go second. Rosenqvist is third and Jake Dennis is fourth, but a great start by Marcus Pommer. He wasn't intimidated by Giovinazzi trying to cut across, and despite Giovinazzi being a length ahead on the grid, he was not able to convert pole position into the race lead. Marcus Pommer leads for the first time this year in the championship.
So great start from Marcus Pommer then, who did exactly what he needed to do. And Giovinazzi was not able. He tried to dive to that inside. He did squeeze Pommer, but he didn't squeeze him enough.
And now, can Giovinazzi respond and find a way past him, or does he have to change his game plan and think about points? We need to see where Charles Leclerc is. Leclerc trying to make progress as well at the moment as the cars work their way through the first sector, heading up towards turn 8. So Giovinazzi down in second spot behind Pommer. Third is Rosenqvist, fourth is Dennis, fifth is Stroll, sixth is Russell, seventh is Camara. In 8th place, looks like being Ryan Tweeter. the next of the Carlin cars, and I reckon that Charles Leclerc has gone backwards rather than forwards, because Albon is in 9th. There is Leclerc in 11th place, so he's out of the points. He's not making progress. Now, don't forget, that car damaged yesterday, has not run since. A challenge is made up on the inside there. Boccolacci tries to get ahead of Gunter, can't do it. Callum Eilert buys into that as well. Boccolacci trying to make progress, but he's got that drive-through to serve as down they come to the Kumho Bocht. For the first time, Arjun Maini tries to get up the inside of Tatiana Calderon. Up the curve, Arjun Maini squeezed well and truly there, so Tatiana Calderon hangs on to the place. Leader goes through half a second. Pommer to Giovinazzi. 9/10 back is Rosenqvist, then it's Dennis, Stroll, Russell in 6th. Camara is 7th, 8th is Twitter, 9th is Alex Albon, in 10th place it is Santino Ferrucci, so 11th is where you find Charles Leclerc, and he has got to dig deep now. Albon is on the back there, you can see, of Ryan Twitter. So Twitter is up in 8th spot, and having had a good run yesterday and 2 good grid positions, psychologically this is a real boost to the Formula Renault graduate. Alex Albon also moving up from Formula Renault, right on his tail, but Charles Leclerc not close enough to think about making a move, as Albon does go on the inside at turn 7. That is brave stuff. Very good move indeed by Alex Albon.
That was great racing from Albon, wasn't he? He set that up perfectly. He had to remain absolutely committed to it, and as you say, it was a brave place to do that.
And so he's got past Twitter straight away. Ferrucci tries to see whether he can do anything about that, and he's taking Charles Leclerc with him. So Ryan Twitter may end up dropping back a little bit, but in the first sector of this lap, Antonio Giovinazzi quicker than anybody as he tries to close on Marcus Pommer for the race lead. Look back. There is Charles Leclerc, who, if anything, is having to defend from Gunter. Down they come towards the Audi S, and Twitter has got Ferrucci all over him now. The two of them running together. Ferrucci in the orange car, Twitter in the yellow car ahead, and getting forced out wide is Boccolacci as there. Callum Eilert goes through, and he takes 13th place in the Red Bull car. Callum Eilert goes through. Boccolacci, mentored by GT hero Stefano Telli, comes up through the Ari Lyndike corner. The leaders go through, and Giovinazzi is on the tail of Marcus Pommer now. 0.3 of a second. Look, diving into Tarzan. The leaders almost together, and if they hold each other up by squabbling, Rosenqvist's going to join that party as well.
Absolutely. That will really play into the hands of Felix Rosenqvist, and maybe also Jake Dennis as well.
Indeed so, and there is Twitter and Ferrucci with Charles Leclerc in 11th place. It could be that car's not 100% after the accident yesterday, and Charles himself had a bruised and swollen knee, so maybe he's feeling a bit second-hand. But there, as Ferrucci ran wide, Leclerc not close enough to take advantage.
Said at the beginning of the programme, Ferrucci is someone that's never looked smooth here. He's always throwing it around, and we've just seen that, haven't we? And that is going to cost him dearly, potentially. Yeah.
You're absolutely right, and not only is it an aggressive way of driving, it also affects the tyres, doesn't it? That he will lose time if he hooks it over the curb too much, but he's also taking tyre wear out of this. Now, look what's happening for second. Giovinazzi has fallen into the clutches of Rosenqvist, who's done the absolute best first sector. If they squabble for second, Pommer could build the lead. It's another cat and mouse game, and Matt Solomon is off the road. He's already had one off this weekend and damaged the car up at turn 8 when he went through the gravel. This time he's off the road. I'm trying to work out where that is. Strangely, we haven't got a yellow flag out in a sector yet, so Solomon is off. The Hong Kong driver, not for the first time this year, I'm afraid, is in strife. And this is, in fact, where he had his off in free practice earlier on in the weekend. It's coming out of turn 8. He should be able to get going from there, but his tyres are in a fairly bad condition, as you can see. Blistered after the spin, and they picked up lots of rubbish as well. So, the car is on the grass. And if it's going to stay there, and it is, because the steering wheel comes off, then that's going to be a safety car to get that out of the way. This is Dorian Boccolacci serving the drive-through, and there's another one coming in behind him, is there not? Which is a Fortec car by the look of it. That, I think, is Matt Rao. So Boccolacci's drive-through, that's a carryover from yesterday. We knew about that one, but the other car that's in the pit lane is indeed Matt Rao with a problem. Safety car deployed.
So Boccolacci having served his drive-through penalty now, and with the safety car deployed, he'll be able to get back onto the back of the pack, won't he? Here comes the safety car. Well, it was a little while before that was deployed there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we'd seen Solomon getting out of the car, but the car had moved, whether by push or whether by a reverse gear. And it had moved away from the barrier as though there was the chance of it getting back on the track. But as soon as the steering wheel came off, then in consultation with the marshals on post, then yep, the car is stranded, we do need the safety car. So out it comes, and all the gaps of course will come right down. I'm fascinated to see how this restart's going to pan out, because yesterday and again at Spa we commented on how sluggish on a safety car restart Marcus Pommer has been. There was one at Spa where he really was caught napping. Yesterday he was a bit slow away in the second race, and that enabled gaps to widen as Matt Solomon safe and sound but out of the race. And so if the race leader is slow on a restart, he can get swamped.
Yes.
So Pommer has got to really perform on the restart for this race. They're coming now down towards the Tarzan hairpin. Safety car will pick them up, and then we will very shortly hopefully go back to racing, because I can't believe it's going to take long to get this car out of the way. Well, it's not damaged as far as we can tell, and so the field all bunching up behind the safety car here at Zandvoort.
So as we follow the pack through then, safety car having been deployed for that car in the gravel, and it shouldn't be too long before that can be retrieved.
So another look at the start. But Giovinazzi, although it was a decent getaway, Pommer absolutely nailed it. Look, he got a squeeze. There was enough room, but Pommer there on the dirty line, look, so he had to try and squeeze himself back onto the line, and by levelling with Giovinazzi all the way down to the corner, he had claimed the inside line, got his nose in front on that shorter line job. Very well done there. And the Carlin engineers know that an opportunity has just slipped away. Giovinazzi at least able to counter the move of Rosenqvist, wasn't he?
But now with the safety car deployed, I wonder whether Giovinazzi will be thinking here is going to be a great opportunity for him, as the race will get back underway very, very shortly. No word yet on when that safety car is coming in, but can't think it will be very long, because it'll be too difficult to retrieve that car of Solomon.
Giovinazzi and Rosenqvist both need to think the same thing. Attack, 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 because they've got one chance, really. They don't know if there's going to be another safety car period, so they've got to attack on that restart down to the first corner. And like I say, previous rounds this year have suggested that Marcus Pommer is not quite as keen on his toes as others are on a restart. So if he's a bit slow away, he's going to have them right up behind him, ready to attack. Giovinazzi's problem is that he's got to attack but also defend from Rosenqvist, so he's in the invidious position, really. So one more lap.
Yeah, early stages of this race, safety car, and something that you've said on many, many occasions, safety cars breed safety cars. With all these cars now backed up together again, well, the sun is beginning to shine now, and it's perfect race conditions, isn't it? But nonetheless, the whole pack will be together once again. So at least another lap behind the safety car then.
So they're turning their way at the moment through the Hugenholtz Bocht, named after the circuit designer John Hugenholtz, whose son Hans is a very successful historic racer, and will no doubt be here in a month's time at the annual historic Grand Prix. The cars working their way towards Hunsrück, the Rob Slottermacher Bocht.
In this lap, David.
Okay, safety car in this time. In the shadow of Schiphol Airport, the fans getting ready for the restart, which will be this time. Now it's 23 laps, all 35 minutes. We're on lap 6. We've got 25 minutes and change on the clock, so it'll be worth keeping an eye to whether we go laps or time. It might just coincide, depending, of course, on whether we have another safety car period, because I've heard people say that safety cars breed. So Marcus Pommer it is who leads the way, and he has got to make an absolute peach of a restart here.
Now, something that you and I were researching yesterday was the fact of once the safety car has peeled off, it is then down to, of course, Marcus Pommer, who is going to control this, and whether there was an absolute regulation between safety car and where the car is restarting from.
You have to be within 10 lengths while the safety car lights are out, but once the safety car turns off the lights, ready to come in, it is up to the leader to control the pace, and he may drop more than 10 lengths behind. What he can't do is drive erratically, so you can't speed up and suddenly slow down and try and cause mayhem behind. Once you accelerate, which Pommer is doing, you've got to keep on accelerating. He runs a little bit wide actually out of the Audi S, but that's not a bad restart, because he's pulled, what, 3 lengths over Giovinazzi. So Pommer seemingly has done the job very well this time around.
When he needed to most, he's put it together, hasn't he? So Away we go, and race is back on again as we go green, heading towards the Tarzan turn. Pommer, Giovinazzi, Rosenqvist, Dennis. Then it's Stroll, Russell, Seta Kamara, and Albon.
And there, look, diving up the inside, Santino Ferrucci against Ryan Tvita. Absolutely level as they go round Tarzan. Ferrucci will go through, and he puts himself ninth. And it's a good job he's a pretty short bloke, because those pit boards were quite close to the top of his crash hump. You could see them all big pulled in rapidly by the team. He was right up against the pit lane. Clatter, clatter, clatter nearly as he went by, but Ferrucci absolutely committed to the inside line. The one that still hasn't gained anything out of the race is Charles Leclerc, the championship leader, mired in 11th place and out of the points. Not only that, he's under pressure from Max Günther, who had a win in the middle race at Norris Ring. The field through then on this restart lap, lap number 7. Rosenqvist on the back of Giovinazzi. Is Pommer getting away? Fractionally, isn't he?
Yes, and I think the one that... See, Giovinazzi now is going to have to alter his thinking to attack, and he's going to have to now start thinking about defence, because Rosenqvist is closer to Giovinazzi, certainly, than Giovinazzi is to Pommer.
And there are still battles lower down the order, look, because in the background you've got another Carlin versus Mucker battle, and bodywork goes flying. And that battle, which I was just talking about, has come to naught, look, because Mikkel Jensen's car is absolutely broken. Suspension is smashed, wing has gone. We didn't see the start of it, but we saw 2 cars come through together. We are going to have, I would fear, the safety car once more. The yellows are being shown. It was Gustavo Menezes, safety car for the second time. It was Gustavo Menezes who was running with Mikkel Jensen, and so the 2 of them have got together. Hopefully we can piece together that by a replay.
Well, all we saw was the debris, wasn't it, flying up above the crest there.
Yeah. But clearly Jensen's been squeezed towards the barrier, because all the damage is on the right-hand side. But we have them side by side coming out of turn 10, and the net result is that Mikkel Jensen's car is certainly not how Dallara intended it to look. So, second safety car. I'm so glad we did that driving standards conversation earlier on in the day, because that clearly was a waste of breath for everybody. Okay. Safety car on track.
Well, this reinforces your point, I suppose, doesn't it?
What safety cars breathe? Thanks. Right, let's try and have another look. Here you go. This is... He's already been in the barrier there, Mikkel Jensen, in fairness. I think what happened was that they came side by side out of the previous corner.
Look at the damage on that.
And again, there's not much runoff, so if Jensen got squeezed and hits the barrier, it's happening there. You can see the bodywork fly.
Yeah.
And Jensen's been in the wall because all the damage is on the right-hand side, but it's taken the rear wing off as well, hasn't it? I mean, that's gone off and in with quite some force. But we saw yesterday, if people get forced out wide there, anywhere near the dirt, that just kind of drags you off the circuit.
It does.
It goes.
Yeah, you're right. Pulls you in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that car has been pulled in big time, hasn't it? Look at the, we're seeing it now from the rear, and the damage at the rear there.
It's been a big, big hit, that.
Yes. Oh.
So Mikkel Jensen is okay. Gustavo Menezes, I think, has got away with that. Just looking at it. Is he still circulating, or did he pit, Dave? He is still circulating, isn't he? 25th. Yeah. And I'm waiting to see whether there's anything about an investigation about that. I'm sure it'll come. I think that message is in the post, isn't it? So the safety car is deployed. Second use in the race. I'd give you the race order, but it's not changed very much. It's still Pommer, Giovinazzi, Rosenqvist, Dennis, Stroll, Russell, Kamara, Albon, Ferrucci, Tvita, the top 10, which means that Charles Leclerc, the Monegasque, the championship leader, is still out of the points in 11th place. And not looking like he's about to break through either. No. Now,
still no message I can give you about that incident and whether it's being investigated.
Quick check there from the marshals that the barrier is okay. See those wooden supports behind it, and the metal supports as well, just to make sure that they haven't been damaged or dislodged, and therefore if anybody else were to hit a barrier, make sure the barrier stands upright. Looks like it's okay, actually. But Mikkel Jensen's car, look, rear wing has gone, front wing's gone, right-hand suspension is smashed. That's done a lot of damage. A lot of damage done to that car. And now the marshals are trying to retrieve it, get it out of harm's way, which I think has been done. That's on the short circuit, the cut-through, that kind of breaks the first sector, if you like, away from the top of the circuit. So there's a sort of short circuit that you can use, and that's where that car is parked now. So it's out of harm's way. There you can see where the cut-through joins back on the run down to the Audi S. So we could be going racing at the end of this lap, although there's no indication yet on the timing screen that that is going to be the case. So Sven Stopper, the race director, perhaps will get them through that incident zone once more and then make the call, but if he doesn't, have to be a bit late in the lap, won't it? We'll see. Another safety car period helping the life in the tyres, even if the tyre temperatures have dropped a bit here. So, what else do we have to shake out of this race? I can't believe we're done yet. The third race of the weekend, in any category, in fairness, where you've got multiple races, tends to be the more gung-ho because there's a lot more repair time. And they've got, what, 3 weeks before the next stop of the Red Bull Ring, which will be interesting because that, to go back to an earlier point, is a modern-day Formula One circuit that will have
lots of tarmac runoff.
Which will have
yes,
track limits being issued left, right and centre. And perhaps
I'll go back to my clipboard, won't I?
Please do. Yes, back to the judicial proceedings. It'll have drivers perhaps taking greater chances in the knowledge that they've got more room to play with. So the leaders come over the timing line. Gap's all irrelevant while we're behind the safety car. Marcus Pommer did a good job on that first restart, and there's no suggestion, therefore, on that evidence that he won't be good on his toes next time around.
No. So we're into another lap of the safety car with Pommer, Giovinazzi, Rosenqvist, Dennis, Stroll, Russell, Satakamara and Albon, the top 8. And it's Ferrucci, Tvita and Leclerc, as David has said, still out of the points in P11.
And Matt Solomon watching what's going on, explaining his demise.
In this lap.
OK, safety car will be in this time, so Marcus Pommer will try and control the restart, and Antonio Giovinazzi, of course, will try and get past him on the run to the first corner at Tarzan. He knows that's his opportunity. In fairness to Charles Leclerc, one is still tempted to suggest that that package, car and or driver, is not 100% after yesterday.
No,
because they don't get a warm-up session. If you have any damage in race 1 going into race 2 or race 2 going into race 3, the only time you know whether it's worked is on your installation lap round to the grid. And that's the only time you get to know whether work that's been done has been 100% successful. So it could be that Leclerc is still battling a car that's not quite as he wants it. It's the same chassis, the same car that Max Verstappen had great success with last year, and of course he's leading the championship going into this race. Right, safety car lights are out, safety car is storming away, and Marcus Pommer, it is fair to say, has bunched everybody up behind him as he leisurely, languidly turns his way down to the Audi S.
Giovinazzi is just not weaving at all. He's just trying to anticipate, isn't he?
Giovinazzi's hardly got any room to weave because he's got Rosenqvist right up behind him. Now Pommer sprints away, and Giovinazzi tries to go with him. It's brave doing that when you then got to stand on the brakes for a slow corner like the Audi S. Some people accelerate at this point as the start. But anyway, Pommer runs a little bit wide out of the Audi S once more, like he did at the previous restart. But he's got 3 lengths over Giovinazzi. That should be enough on the way down towards Tarzan this time. Pommer it is then who leads the way. And Giovinazzi checks his mirror to see where Rosenqvist is, and the Swede isn't close enough to the Italian, I don't think, to threaten him on the run. Now, down to the first corner. Jake Dennis fourth has fallen away a little bit. Giovinazzi pulls out. That, I think, was more to try to unsettle Pommer than have a serious bid for the place.
I think, to be fair, that Giovinazzi on this time made a better fist of trying to keep with Pommer. Not quite good enough, but do think he was closer to him on that restart. And as you say, just dived out to try and unsettle him.
So the cars work, lap number 11. We've got 15.5 minutes to go, or 13 laps. I suspect we're going to go time, therefore. And that's Menezes off the road. He's got broken suspension. And you know what's going to happen next.
What are you going to say?
That car is going to need shifting. And I think there will be a Mercedes with flashing yellow lights on the top of it. There's another car, look at the bottom of the picture, which has gone missing as well. Menezes was running near Nicolas Pola. It is Pola's car that's off the road. So Menezes, I think we just accounted for in the Mikkel Jensen drama, and now he's had another one. And so a circuit intervention vehicle is going to be used. The safety car is out on track once more. There is Gustavo Menezes. And let's try and work out how that all came about. Is it Nicolas Pola that goes wide? Yes, it is. So Menezes tries to get up the inside, and they interlock wheels. Whew. Pola lucky he didn't go over.
Yes.
With some force, he clatters off into the barrier. I'd like another look at that, because it's hard to see necessarily whether Menezes ran too wide into Pola, and then, Gustavo so nearly rediscovers his spar line, doesn't he?
Yes.
Up in the air, but thankfully that time it doesn't tip over. It crash lands back without any assistance from anybody. tell you, Gustavo's made of steel. He gets out of the car okay. Bits of car thrown away by the marshals. But whether Pola came across or Menezes was running out wide, hard to know whether either driver was at fault there or whether it was just a racing incident. But Menezes certainly had got the run up the inside. Pola had made the mistake going into the corner.
Well, Pola out of the car as well. We can see him behind the Armco as well. But that's two cars that's got to be recovered there. This is going to be a lengthy period of safety car intervention, I think, because two cars to be recovered. Menezes and there is Pola. And doubtless he and Gustavo will be having a conversation in a moment when they meet each other behind the Armco.
And I suspect they won't agree.
No, I think you might be right there.
You could suggest their opinions are polar opposites. There is Nicholas Pola's car then up against the wall.
Now, that incident will be reported to the stewards of the meeting between car number 4 and car number 18. That is Gustavo Menezes and Nicholas Pola, going to be looked at by the stewards of the meeting. So,
still interested that nothing's come up about the Jensen incident, although maybe it's because there wasn't vision of it. We kind of picked up on it because we saw the start,
yes,
and worked out who was doing what around that battle, but maybe because the vision was changing from one camera shot to another, it was harder for the stewards to piece together. Have another look, you see, because there Pola makes the mistake.
Yes.
He goes deep into the corner. Menezes is virtually alongside, and Pola tries to get back on the run. I'm tempted to say Pola, slightly more at fault there.
Okay.
But, you know, Menezes was virtually alongside him.
And as you say, very nearly discovering his spar in once again.
Yeah. So the safety car is back on track. And Nicholas Pola walks away. I think the more I look at that, the more I kind of think it was just two people going for the same bit of track. You know, one line was pushing the driver out wide, another line was bringing him back, having run wide, and they just kind of met in the middle, really. Certainly Menezes wasn't out to cause an accident, was he? Nor Nicholas Pola. So Gustavo walks back up the pit lane. The American driver, frustrated. He's had some damage this year. And we await news from the stewards as to that, but Nicholas Pola's car out of the race as well. Interesting the way that Gustavo Menezes' car oh so nearly rolled as it dug into the grass.
Yes.
And there you kind of come up with the argument why this run off tarmac is a good thing. Doesn't have quite that same effect. Nicholas Pola is okay, but frustrated. It's been a difficult season for Nicholas Pola. Coming into the weekend, his best had only been a 17th. He's not scored points all year. So the field behind the safety car, we've got the cars on lap 13 and only 11 minutes of the race to go now.
Yeah, so that graphic at the top of your screen will change from laps to time at some point. As having been in is Matt Rao. And rejoins now. So the Fortec driver around the Tarzan box then, and we'll go to the back of this pack that is still being paraded and led by the safety car with the lights still illuminated. No suggestion yet that the safety car is coming in.
I reckon we need to do 18 laps to be sure of having done 75% for full points.
Right.
We've got 10 minutes and we're on lap 13. We've got to get 5 more laps in. 75% takes you to 17.25. That's another Pola moment, isn't it? Ahead of teammate Alessio Lorandi. So Nicholas Pola has been in the walls of it in this race. Fabian Schiller there on the outside of Michele Beretta. And in super slow-mo, where is Giovinazzi fending off Rosenqvist. And Giovinazzi, of course, keen to try to outscore Rosenqvist. Both of them outscoring Charles Leclerc,
yes,
which is crucial. And we can't be far off getting back underway as there is Pola's car being retrieved.
So as that car is the last one of the two to be retrieved, and once that's done and Marshall's back on post, and we will be away and racing once again. So as the cars being led round by the safety car. And there we can see the damaged car of Nicholas Pola being taken off the circuit.
I reckon if things stay as they are, Giovinazzi will take over the lead of the championship.
Do you?
Some very crude maths, but that's my limited mathematical prowess telling you that he will, because he will get the points for second, and Leclerc currently is still in 11th and out of the points. Just to labour the point again, but Charles Leclerc needs to somehow get himself up the order. We've said all year that with a 33 race campaign you've got to bank points. Well, this is round 21, so we've now got fewer opportunities to do that banking. A chance to have a quick look here at wing adjustment.
Right. Still no news on the safety car coming in, I'm afraid to say, which means more of the David Edison joke book 17, which is the volume that we're on at the moment.
Yeah, remaindered. The other line was about drivers being up before the beak, but I swerved that one. So we are on lap 14. We've got just 7 3/4 minutes to go. We should get to 18 laps, shouldn't we? Just. But the danger is we end up with half points.
Yeah.
So Sven Stopper is going to get the race back underway as soon as he can.
Now, you're someone that's been taken into his confidence a lot this weekend, and you've actually been given the grand tour, haven't you, of race control?
I've spent some time in there, yes, and also getting his opinion on driving and driving standards and circuit layouts and the like. And I mean, he's one of the more experienced race directors. You know, he does FIA F3 and has done for a couple of seasons, the Formula 3 Euro Series before it for many years.
Yes.
He took over the DTM a few years ago. He does ADAC GT and the ADAC Formula 4. You know, he's somebody that almost every weekend is imbued in running races, knows how to run a race, knows the rule book inside out. And I haven't spent a race with him in race control, but I am told that he's very calm. You know, he's not somebody that panics or gets himself in a state. You know, he's just very calm and methodical and does things properly. You know, and if he thinks there's any danger to marshals or to drivers, then okay, he will call for a safety car. One of the things he was explaining to me is that after Giovinazzi's awful accident last year, there's been a change in the sporting code of the FIA regulations that says that if you have to have marshals working trackside in order to attend to a car or a driver, that must be covered by a double waved yellow flag. Okay, but now the sporting code says that a double waved yellow flag in that situation is not enough. You have to have a safety car to protect them.
Well, it's coming in this lap, if I may tell you that.
Thank you.
But interesting to learn how those regulations are changing, and there we can see the lights are out on the safety car. So we have, what do we got on the clock here?
6 minutes and counting.
Well, just under, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it could be 5 when we get to the timing line, because it's 5 3/4 minutes now, and they're not racing yet, are they? They're not up to race pace, but they are about to go now. Giovinazzi almost on an overlap there. He's got to be careful Palmer doesn't weave into him, but Giovinazzi is staying right on the back of the race leader. He's been given another opportunity, the 4th start effectively. Palmer gets away into the S. Giovinazzi doesn't go with him there, and actually is prey for Rosenqvist's attack on the run now up to the restart of the race. So Marcus Palmer has got away. He did do a good job on that restart, and so the green flags will fly to get us back underway for 5 minutes and 10 seconds now. When they get up towards the timing line, which will happen any second now, we will have, what did I say, 5 minutes? It's 5 minutes and 2 seconds of the race to go, down to Tarzan hairpin. Palmer leads by 0.4 of a second.
Well, Giovinazzi has got closer to him and has shaken off just for the moment the charge from Felix Rosenqvist, but another great safety car restart from Marcus Palmer, who up until coming here had been a bit sluggish in those scenarios.
Indeed, and we're on lap 16, so we should get 18 in to give us full points to be on the safe side. As I say, 75% is 17.25, so round it up, 18 laps and you're safe. And now the race leader, Marcus Palmer, offered an opportunity of his first win of the season, and he's had to cope with everything, hasn't he? Like getting ahead of the race leader and controlling restart after restart after restart. He leads the way, and I would say now he's getting away from Giovinazzi. Third is Rosenqvist, Dennis is fourth, fifth is Lance Stroll keeping out of trouble, and sixth is George Russell. Lance Stroll doing a good job here on merit, running in fifth spot. There is Alessio Lorandi trying to get on the back of Sam McLeod, trying to get on the back of Nabil Jeffrey, the Malaysian driver in the Petronas liveried car, the turquoise and white Dallara there. Look, coming out of turn 8 now. The leader is on his way to the Audi S. Marcus Pommer looks as though he's going to be on target for a victory now, because there's been little that Giovinazzi's been able to throw at him, really, in true race conditions.
No, you're absolutely right. So, a great job from Pommer as there. Two gaggles of packs together there, as you can see, coming through that S. Pommer then. And there is Giovinazzi, there is Rosenqvist and Dennis. They're all gapped, the 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you've said, Lance Stroll running in P5. Then it's George Russell. So into the Tarzan Bocht once again. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All very, very well gapped out together. Look. And it was 5 tenths that Pommer had.
Callum Eilert into the gravel, and back out again. Eilert was 14, so it doesn't really affect things for the points. Thankfully, he's able to carry on in the race, although he's got Dorian Boccolacci behind him. 3 more minutes of the race remain. Pommer leading the way still from Giovinazzi second. And Giovinazzi having one last push. This is what happened to Callum Eilert. Just a big, big lock-up coming into Tarzan. Gets his foot off the brake, lets the car take its line through the corner, and then puts his foot down to dig himself out of the gravel, gets it back onto the circuit. Job well done there.
Looking further down the order, 3 tenths between Leclerc and Tvita, and that's just denying Leclerc for being in the points, isn't it? Tvita P10, Leclerc P11.
So Marcus Pommer leading the way. Still a very experienced driver, Marcus. He started off racing Formula 3 cars back in 2009. He's had a spell in AutoGP. He was the runner-up in 2012 in the last year of Formula 2. The FIA Formula 2 Championship was there. Lorandi gains ground up on the inside. Look, going down towards the Audi S. That puts him ahead of Peter Lee. And the cars now accelerate their way down towards the right-hander at the Kumho box. Fittipaldi goes up the inside as well, and trying to find a way by also at the back of that little group is Kang Ling. The leaders go down to Tarzan, and we have got 2 more minutes to go. We are on to lap number 18. They'll squeeze 1 more in at the end of this, and I reckon Giovinazzi is having one last push. Wheel to wheel here. Fittipaldi up on the inside to try to go through. It's Andy Chang, Wing Chun Chang, in fact, that he's alongside, and he goes ahead of now. So Fittipaldi gains a place. Eilert is all over the back of Kang Ling, and then you've got Julio Moreno trying to join that group as well. A lock up from Ling. And into the pits comes Ryan Tvita with damage. And that means
Leclerc is P10 now.
Absolutely, he's in the points, or point, singular. And that was all self-induced, wasn't it? And not for the first time this weekend, coming out of turn 7, that is, in fact, through Chevelak. But that's Ryan Tvita having a big, big moment, self-induced. He broke the nose cone in race 1. And you see the damage it does, because you just drift too wide and then bounce at high speed across the grass. I mean, the car's virtually airborne there.
Yes.
And it's done damage to the nose, done lots of damage, I'm sure, to the floor of the car. Kind of toboggans its way through the gravel, and Tvita into the pit lane, but effectively the race is done, because by the time he rejoins we'll be on for the checkered flag, and he's out of the points anyway. So yeah, game over. Frustration, because that, I'm afraid, was a driver error, and it's cost him the chance to score points again. So onto the last lap comes Marcus Pommer. Antonio Giovinazzi, I don't think he's close enough to make a move this time. The gap is 0.4 of a second. Again, Giovinazzi pulls out, has a look to try to unsettle Marcus Pommer. It's been a difficult year for Marcus. Mechanical problems, some incidents of his own making. Black flag, wasn't he, in the third race at Spa, for example, after a couple of incidents, and he was taken out of the race to prevent any further. But here, he has controlled the race. It's a modest gap, but it is a gap, and that's really what counts. Giovinazzi, though, for second, should move into the lead of the championship now. Rosenqvist third. In fourth place is Jake Dennis, who has been there or thereabouts all weekend, Jake, but never quite looking as though he's had the ultimate pace.
No, you're right. So there is Marcus Pommer, then Antonio Giovinazzi. He's not been able to take it to him. He's had a couple of safety car interventions to really close up, and he's certainly tried to do so on the restart, but Pommer has always had the measure of it.
And this is a win that has been a long time coming, hasn't it? Marcus Pommer, the reigning German champion. I know that's not as wasn't as competitive a series last year as it had been in previous years. You can only beat who you're up against, though, and Marcus Pommer did do that. Motor Park is a team new into this championship this year, and it's finally all come good. First podium in race 1, a penalty retrospectively in race 2, but it's going to be a win in race 3 as Marcus Pommer then works his way now up through the Arie Luijendijk box. He comes up towards the checkered flag, and Marcus Pommer wins round 21 of the championship ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi, ahead of Felix Rosenqvist. Jake Dennis comes home in 4th, and the rest pour through with Stroll 5th, Russell 6th, 7th Camara, 8th Albert, 9th Ferrucci, and 10th a solitary point for Charles Leclerc. It should have been so much better, shouldn't it, for him? But in the end, it is just a 1 point for Leclerc, but it's 25 crucial points for Marcus Pommer.
So Pommer then victorious and across the line with 5/10 over Antonio Giovinazzi, who was never able to take it to him. So the Motor Park driver takes the win, then he's absolutely delighted with that, and of course he will be. And there we can see the Jake Dennis car, who, as you so rightly said, has not really, it just doesn't seem to have all come together.
Just thinking whether Jake will have raced here before. I'm racking my brains to think whether he would have been here in Formula Renault, for example. But certainly because this championship wasn't here last year, he won't have raced here in a Formula 3 car. And it may be that those with a bit more circuit knowledge have been in the box seat this weekend. Marcus Pommer becomes our 7th different winner of the year. And he's celebrating the moment, isn't he? That's for sure. Here is the replay of him taking the checkered flag up out of the Arie Luijendijk box, flag at the ready. He wins by half a second in the end and pulls right over to celebrate with the team as he comes past the pits. A bit of a weave there, which might be a finger wagging post-race. Bear in mind he was given that penalty retrospectively yesterday for unnecessarily changing direction, I think was the way it was phrased. Anyway, for the moment, let's not worry about what he might have done after the flag. The fact is what he did before the flag, and that is to control the pace of the race and to come through as the race winner. Marcus Pommer then doing a very good job indeed. So delight down there, of course, on the Moto Park pit wall as well. First win at this level, which is important, up against, you know, crack teams like your Carlins, like your Prema, for example, and your Van Amersfoort. So to get into that company, very good indeed. Muka Motorsport, the other winning team this year. Marcus Pommer picking up dirt on the tyres just to make sure that there's a bit of weight in the car post-race, so there's no fear of it being underweight. So Marcus Pommer it is then who scores a race win, with Antonio Giovinazzi 2nd and Felix Rosenqvist 3rd. Jake Dennis 4th ahead of Lance Stroll and George Russell 6th, with Sergio Sette Camara, Alex Albon, Santino Ferrucci and Charles Leclerc rounding out the point scorers. But a pretty bleak weekend relatively for the championship leader, or previous championship leader, Charles Leclerc. Raoul Hyman is the best of the rest, ahead of Norris Ring winner Max Günther. Fabian Schiller 13th, ahead of Tatiana Calderon and Michele Beretta. Sam McLeod 16th, ahead of Arjun Maini. After him, it was Nabil Jeffrey, Alessio Lorandi and Pietro Fittipaldi, with Wing Chung Chang 21st, Callum Eilert 22nd after his gravelly moment at the end. And there, the casualties, Pola, Menezes, Jensen, Solomon, all out and all with damage. I wonder if, when we reflect on this season right at the end, when the champion is crowned, whether this is going to be a weekend that will be one of the focal points, David. I think if it's in the context of it not being Charles Leclerc, yes, absolutely, because you'd have to say that a 5th, a 10th and a retirement, not what you expect from Charles, given his very high and consistent season that he's had so far this year. Marcus Pommer comes to celebrate. If you look at Charles' weekends, Silverstone was a 12th, a 2nd and a 1st. Hockenheim, it was a 3-2-1, a 3-2-3 at Po. Monza, 5th, retirement 3rd, so still better net. A win, a 6th and a 2nd at Spa. And then at Norris Ring, a win, a 3rd and a 4th. So in terms of overall points, it's his worst weekend, really. But Marcus Pommer is, for the moment, the man of the day, isn't he? Because he takes his first victory, and significantly for the team, he gives Motor Park a first win as well. The man from Heilbronn began in '03 in karts, and after that Marcus had his spell in the German Formula BMW Championship in 07. He went to the ADAC Formula Masters Series in 08, which has kind of grown into German Formula 4 now. In 09, he went to the German F3 Cup, was third. Then he had a few outings the following 2 seasons. In 2012, he went into Formula 2, was the runner-up in the championship that year. Then he had a spell in 13 hunting for drives and did some Porsche Super Cup racing. Last year, it was the German, the ATS Formula 3 Championship that he won, and was third in AutoGP as well last year, much more powerful cars. So Antonio Giovinazzi then now does become the championship leader by 7.5 points from Charles Leclerc. Felix Rosenqvist third, ahead of Jake Dennis. George Russell is fifth, Alex Albon is sixth, then it's Günther, Stroll, Jensen and Marcus Pommer rounding out the top 10, really helped by the 25 points he's just bagged for a race win. The next stop, as we've been saying, is the Red Bull Ring, and a very different type of circuit. It's based on a traditional layout of the old Österreich Ring, but made into a modern-day Formula 1 venue. It's got all the undulations. It's in a great setting, the Red Bull Ring, but it is, by dint of being a modern F1 circuit, one with all the runoff area, and that in turn, I suspect, will have a different feel to the racing, the way that the drivers treat the lap. A reminder of the top 3 then. Third, going the way of Felix Rosenqvist. His worst result of the weekend after a second and then a win. Antonio Giovinazzi leaves Holland with a win and 2 second places for the Carlin team, but Motor Park's Marcus Pommer is the man who comes through victorious. We got 19 laps in because of those 3 safety car periods, and Marcus Pommer victorious come race's end, and a very happy man indeed. It's been a long time coming. He had his first podium of the season yesterday. That was good in itself, but the fact that he's now on the top step, even better for him. Lance Stroll, the top rookie, incidentally, as well. You've just seen him celebrating with the Prema guys, and after an accident yesterday and the spotlight being shone on him once more for being involved in an incident, good to bounce back in style with a victory here. But Marcus Pommer will be for the top step of the podium very shortly, joined by Antonio Giovinazzi and by Felix Rosenqvist. And the Moto Park team will also, I'm sure, be very, very keen to start celebrating. The team has worked very hard indeed for this maiden win. Motor Park run by Timo Rumpkeil, and with a good pedigree in winning the German and the European Formula Renault Championships, as well as the German F3 Series. It's also been successful in GP2 and has taken victories also in the past in Formula 3 Masters. Ran a car last year here in that event as well. So everybody being rounded up behind the podium. The rookie drivers are there. Lance Stroll, George Russell and Alex Albon being the top 3 in the class there. But for the outright podium, Marcus Pommer is invited forward first. Eric Weijers there, who is the CEO of the circuit here at Zandvoort, will make the presentation, and Marcus Pommer is a very happy man. Antonio Giovinazzi, the new championship leader, is there for second place, and Felix Rosenqvist third. Motor Park is represented as well. As for Marcus Pommer, we have the German national anthem. For Marcus Pommer then, it is the first time this year he has stood on the top step of the podium. It's his first win in this championship, and Max Papis, former Formula 1 driver, Pietro Fittipaldi's father, is the man who makes the presentation to the victors. Eric Weijers hands over the Motor Park Teams trophy. Second place trophy to Antonio Giovinazzi. As I say, he's taken over the championship lead. It's a slender 7.5 points, but it picks us up nicely to go to the Red Bull Ring with a real fight at the top. And there Felix Rosenqvist takes third position. Mr. Zandvoort, as he had been dubbed sort of pre-weekend, only taking one victory to add to his tally, but he excels around here normally, and he's a double winner of the F3 Masters. So the three drivers all huddling together on the top step. Antonio Giovinazzi in the yellow overalls, Marcus Palmer in the middle, then Felix Rosenqvist are about to celebrate because it's their last race of the weekend. Henkel Trocken is sprayed, and they can now think about the Red Bull Ring and how the remainder of the championship is going to pan out, because after that they go not to Moscow as initially planned, but to Portimao in early September. Then it is the Nürburgring late September, and then Hockenheim. So just 4 more venues in the calendar for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The next stop is in the Austrian mountains in 3 weeks' time. We'll see you there. For Dave Richardson from David Addison, bye for now.